ain't convinced. Convincent. Convincent, my boyki. Oh no. Oh no. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Good afternoon, James. I am back on Djuma channel. I am on Arathusa, parallel road north, just north of Knobthorne, Red Dam Road.
Copy, good afternoon, Scott. Thank you very much for the update.
Copy, no problem.
Confirm static, or is he on a bumper?
He's static, full-bellied, no sign of a bumper.
Alright, copy, thank you.
Copy.
Bumper kill.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab a standby behind you. Sorry, can I grab a standby behind you then?
Copy, very good. Hello everybody and welcome on board. Apologies, we've been having some tech difficulties this afternoon, clearly, as I'm sure you are all aware, but that is not an issue because we have got this beautiful big male leopard in front of us. It looks like Tingana to me, although I don't know why, for some reason I'm picking up the vibe that it isn't actually him. I don't know if it's the pink nose that I haven't noticed in the past or just a slightly different look to his face. But you guys can let me know your thoughts. I don't know why, like I said, I'm getting that feeling. Maybe I'm just going crazy, which is possible. My name is Scott, for those of you who have yet to meet me before. And I am teamed up with Dave on camera. We got incredibly lucky to find this leopard, and we've got a big thank you to say to the birds. There was a whole host of birds sitting in the trees just above him, alarm calling. And isn't it funny how timing is so crucial out here? We were going to drive along this road anyway, so we probably would have seen him. But there's a chance we wouldn't have. And before we even turned onto this road, I could hear the birds alarm calling, and I could actually see two fork-tailed drongos flying in this direction. And I thought, here we go, we've got something. This is going to be something cool, possibly a snake. That's actually what I thought it was. I wasn't expecting a big male leopard to be lying at the base of the bush, but we'll definitely take that. Looks like he's well fed. You can see his belly's quite rounded, and he's panting quite heavily. That's probably for a number of reasons. It's not only because he's got a full belly, it's also quite warm. Despite the cloud cover, it's about 26 degrees Celsius, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. And that, coupled with the fact that there's a lot of meat pushing up against his diaphragm, means that he's going to be taking short, sharp breaths. Now, I'm just going to have to keep the radio on for a while. You'll hear some crackles coming through from there. It's the Game Drive channel, so that I can help people into the sighting. There is a limit to 3 vehicles per sighting. So I think what we'll do is, because it sounds quite busy across here on Arathusa this afternoon, we'll let guys come through once we've had a decent look, and then aim to come back a little bit later. We are very close to the border with Djuma, and I'm hoping he's going to continue on to Djuma, and that will leave the masses behind and allow us to enjoy some time with him. So that is something we'll have to ready ourselves for. Great, well, we are on a live interactive safari. If you'd like to send either myself, Scott, any questions, or James, who you're about to meet on the other vehicle, it's very simple. You can hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or send an email through to questions@WildEarthTV, and we love to hear from you, so please let us know, especially if this may be your first live safari. Get a hold of us, and if you haven't met James before, you'll be heading across to his vehicle right now.
Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to this end of the safari where we are looking at a beautiful female kudu. I am so pleased that Scott has found a cat, a large spotted golden pelaged cat with a full belly. Wonderful news for the afternoon. My name is James Hendry. On camera today we have got Viam. Say hello Viam.
Hello.
There we go. Now Viam is filming. As you can see, he's full of beans this afternoon. And our plan was to check around this area to see if we could also find some leopard tracks. I think we're going to maintain that plan, but there will be lots of other little wonders on the way. We had some francolins here, there were those kudu, and there were also some zebra just off over there. They have since disappeared, unfortunately. I know you won't believe me, but we also had some warthogs. It's been a great and abundant afternoon so far. Now, the arrangement is precisely the same as it is on Scott's vehicle. We're live, and therefore we'd like you to talk to us. Hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV on the email. Otherwise, speak to us on the Ustream chatty type thing. We're going to continue down the road here, see if we can find further tracks of the leopard. But while, as they say, the sun is shining, let us make hay. Even though there isn't any sun, let's go back and spend some time with Tingana. I will see you shortly.
So I'm not too sure what got his attention, but he's just poked his head up. Obviously nothing too important because he's just plunked his head right back down. Now, it is impossible to predict what exactly he is going to do next. There is a strong chance that he does have a kill nearby, and he's just come up into this kind of open sandy patch because it's nice and cool here. It's not uncommon for leopards to stray 50 or even 100 meters away from their kills. So he could lead us back to that later, or he could just continue on his missions. And really looking forward to seeing what he does do. I was just saying to David, it's nothing better than spending a full 3 hours with a leopard, and that's something he hasn't done yet. Janet M., thank you very much for helping me be sure that this is in fact Tingana. You have given the thumbs up there. So thank you for that. And if any of you are new to this live safari experience, it's important to know that you too could also, like Janet M., become experts in trying to understand which leopard is which. Initially, they all look the same, and to me, clearly, they still do, because I battled to distinguish them. But you can tell them apart. They've got little spot patterns that are all slightly different to one another. His pink nose is characteristic. That's one thing I didn't realize in the past, so whoops. But also the small spotted whiskers that the whiskers are growing out of. Just above that, you can see he's got 2 freckles that are kind of almost joining, and then another 2 closer towards his nostrils. So those are distinctive of the right-hand side of his muzzle. Happy to hear that James Richards was also confused by the pink nose. Glad we're in the same boat there, James, making me feel better about my lack of awareness for that. Usually it's younger males that will have pink noses, but it's not a set rule. Oh, wonderful. Ah, Funky Kawaii. You would like to know how far away is the leopard from the closest waterhole? And had you have asked me this question 4 days ago, it would have been applicable and useful because we hadn't had a huge downpour of rain. But 2 or 3 nights ago we did, and there are puddles of water everywhere. So it's not really applicable where the closest waterhole is because there are so many places that he can drink. Like I said, in very small little wallows, little round ponds, you could say, that are created by animals like warthog and buffalo that will roll around in the mud, thus creating deeper and deeper depressions that the rain can fill up. So it is nearby, though. It is about 500 meters in that direction to our west. It's called Red Dam. I'll even be able to show you where it is, but I don't expect that we are going to be seeing much action at the waterholes now that there are so many latent puddles all around. So I'm going to zoom out and give you a kind of idea of where we are on Djuma and Arathusa. The right-hand square is Djuma. The left-hand square is Arathusa. The blue dot is where we are. So we're on the boundary. This is a road. That's the boundary between these two properties that we can traverse. We are the little blue dots over there. And as I zoom in, you can see Red Dam is directly to our west. So that is the closest. There will be some water in it after the rains, but I don't foresee him having to go that far. There's probably a puddle closer by that he'll be happy with. Good. It's one thing that we've been incredibly lucky with this summer, that waterholes have been so busy, because usually that's not a benefit of the summer. Usually that is a winter benefit when it's our dry season, but it is a drought at the moment, so that's why we are getting the benefits of a dry winter. Catherine, you'd like to know if pink noses are a kind of, how could I have forgotten the word, characteristic of younger male leopards? And yes, I think as a general rule, both lion and leopard, when they are younger, they'll have pink noses, and that will, as a general rule, darken as they become older. It's not cast in stone, though, which is clear in this instance because he's coming on 9 or 10 years old. So he's in his prime. Probably another 5 years, 6 years would be the maximum that he would survive for if he has a really good innings. Kind of anywhere from 12 to 15 or 16 would be considered a good innings for a big male leopard. So he's been around, and he's certainly not a youngster. Dawn in Chicago, you'd like to know how far away this leopard is from where we saw the unknown leopard just the other day, and I'll ask Dave to zoom in again. We saw that unknown male leopard right in the top northeastern corner of Djuma, over here. So far away in regards to how far we can move, but it's actually not far away regarding how far a leopard can move. Tingana at this stage basically occupies, let me just move the screen a little bit. Tingana basically at this point occupies this entire territory, including the green portions where we cannot go. It's like the whole of Arathusa and Djuma, roughly. But we haven't seen him that much on our northern boundary, nor have we seen him much in this northeastern corner, but he has gone kind of further east of central Djuma. So he's been seen going into Torchwood, but further south. So it's not a perfect square, how we might like to think it. It's like a strange shape, not any straight angles, which is kind of how humans' brains work. There's sections that may not be his, that are on our property, and other portions that are. So it appears like this other male is probably occupying just the northern little section of Djuma up to Buffelshoek Dam, and the reason why we don't see him that much there is because he's skittish, I guess, so he's probably hiding from us a lot of the time. There is a strong chance that him and Tingana have met up and had discussions regarding their property, but again, there's so much that we don't know that happens here, and that is something we all need to remember, is that simply because we don't see it, it doesn't mean things aren't happening. We are spending a minute amount of time out here daily, especially considering there's so many different animals that we divide our time amongst. So there are massive chunks of these animals' lives that we do not know about, and people just kind of assume that nothing's going on while we're not with them. But there's a lot going on, and probably a lot of the interesting stuff that does go on is after dark when we are fast asleep. So it's something very important to remember, that these guys could be meeting up a lot more than we expect them to be. Hello Sheila in London, you would like to know if there's any news on Shadow, which is one of Tingana's ladies. There's basically two females that we get to see, one who occupies Arathusa, essentially, and one that occupies Djuma, essentially. And the one who's on Djuma is Karula, her daughter is Shadow. Tingana is both of their lover. So the mother and daughter are sharing a boyfriend, which is not uncommon in leopard world. And they actually share the same father as well. So, interesting stuff regarding that. But no, there hasn't been any word of Shadow for a long while. I haven't seen her or heard of her. So who knows what she's up to. I hope she's still well. I'm sure she is. She's probably just flying below the radar. Good. We're going to send you back to James for an update on how he's coming along, and we will catch up a little bit later.
Right, we haven't found anything else, everybody. We did see a Birchall's cuckoo, but it fluttered off before we could come across to you. And a Birchall's cuckoo, I'm sure, will be on some of your lists, and probably on many. It probably isn't on many of the other lists. Now, while we're driving along, VM obviously gave you a relatively quiet and uninspiring hello. So I just thought I would play you quickly a song that VM came up with the other night. I'll just play you the first bit. It's called "The Cheese Was Eaten by Louise." It goes like this. And you'll hear VM's vocal coming in now.
The cheese was eaten by Louise. So would you tell me, please, what happened to the bees?
Right, so I'm just going to reiterate the lyrics to that song there. The cheese was eaten by Louise, so would you tell me, please, what has happened to the bees? VM? Well done.
Thank you, Jay.
Now, we're on our way to Treehouse Dam, and with any luck, there will be something having a drink there. Now, Jack, you are in Romania. You're totally disinterested in VM's musical talent. VM, I think that says something. Maybe something you should take to heart. Jack, you want to know about a vine snake, and is its venom harmful to human beings? Jack, absolutely it's harmful to human beings. A vine snake is probably the second most venomous snake in Africa, second only to its close relative, the tree snake or boomslang. And they have a venom called hemotoxic venom, and that means that when a vine snake bites you, it will cause your blood to cease its ability to coagulate. So it's got a very strong decoagulant, and of course that means that you would eventually start to hemorrhage from all orifice. Your ears, your eyes, your nose, and everything else will start to hemorrhage, and internally as well. Now that all sounds very terrible, which it would be if it were to happen to you, but there are two redeeming features of the vine snake and its venom. The first is that there's an impala there, but doesn't want to look at us. The first is that a vine snake is shy and also is back-fanged, which means that for a vine snake to bite a human being, it's almost got to kind of take 3 or 4 bites before it can get its back fangs into you. So that's the one thing. The second thing is that the hemotoxic venom, while incredibly powerful, is not very fast acting, which means if you were to get bitten by a vine snake, you could easily make it to a hospital where they would give you a blood transfusion. It would be a very serious hospitalization, but you would probably survive. So yes, Jack, but I mean the chances of being bitten by a vine snake are very small. Touch wood. Thank you, Steph, very much for saying you enjoyed our song. Yes, well, VM, there you go. You've got one fan, and you say we should make a Bush album. Well, perhaps that will happen one day.
I thought it would go platinum.
You think it would go platinum, do you? It would go platinum, do you? I think that's about as... Well, that's probably about as likely as me finding Karula this afternoon. Here is Treehouse Dam. You can see a beautiful mud wallow. If you happen to be a species that likes to wallow in the mud, this is ideal. And also, okay drinking, believe it or not. Muddy water like this, perfectly acceptable to most of the animals out here, the notable exception being the elephants. They don't like to drink this sort of stuff at all. VMP, there's a bird up top there. You see it there? I just want to see what it is. It looked like it might be a small sipiter. It is not. It is a fairly uninspiring red-billed oxpecker. Oh well, shall we carry on? Nothing happening at Treehouse Dam. I must say, there's a wonderful kind of pleasant, peaceful Sunday afternoon feeling about the afternoon. And on Twitter, you want to know, VM knows the cheese comes from cows and not from Louise. VM, did you know that?
Yes.
You did know that. I see. Oh, from bees. Right, I see. Yes. Did you know it didn't come from bees? He did. Okay, good. Thank you, Anne. Thank you for checking with that. I'm not sure where his lyrics came from there, to be honest. The cheese was eaten by Louise, so could you tell me, please, what happened to the bees? I mean, I'm not sure that that sort of lyric would ever have made it onto a Dylan album, for example.
What, have you even listened to it, Dylan?
I have many. Okay, let's go back to the leopard with Scott while we continue our search towards twin dams.
Okay, everyone. Well, you are very fortunate to have heard VM on vocals there. Wasn't that a masterpiece of a melody? So happy that you had that as a portion of your change of scenery with James. Speaking of changes of scenery, it appears like there is a huge demand for the guides and their guests to come and see Mr. Tingana. There are already 3 vehicles making their way here directly and already 5 on standby to come in afterwards. So we are going to make space for those guys as soon as they get here, in the hope that if he does get mobile, I've got a feeling he is going to head on to Djuma when he does. It's going to leave all those vehicles behind where they cannot come onto Djuma, so we'll be unlucky and we'll be able to continue enjoying the sighting alone or with the 1 or 2 other vehicles. But basically, yeah, that's the update. We're going to have probably another 5 or 10 minutes here before we need to move off. But they will call us back as soon as he does get mobile and head on to Djuma, and or once everyone's had a look, we could possibly come back. Go ahead.
Confirm north of the 10 off.
Yeah, we're just north of parallel north-south junction and Knobthorne Red Dam Road, whichever one it is.
Thank you.
Hello to Tula, who would like to know if there's been any recent signs of Mvula, who is basically the dominant male who used to occupy Djuma. This individual here has, in the last year, pushed him further and further east, so now we don't see Mvula anymore. It's not to say he doesn't come on to Djuma and we've missed him, but he does definitely not spend nearly as much time with us as he used to. So not too sure how he's doing. The last I heard, though, he was looking quite thin. He is getting a bit old, and I think he is, sadly, on the way out. But I guess that's life, you know, for every living being on the planet. So I'm guessing we're not going to see Mvula too much more on Djuma. And it's this guy and this other young male we saw the other day that I think are going to be taking his place. And that's the reason why I also think that we might get to see him coming more east onto Djuma this afternoon when he does in fact get mobile. I don't think he's visited us since he was mating with Tundi on our property, which was just over a week ago. We last saw him last week, Saturday night. Since then, we have not seen him, and I think since then he's been doing the rounds in the western portion of his property, and now he's going to head back onto Djuma to continue.
fixed water. So, I don't know, I mean, she looks really dreadful. It's very sad to see, but I wonder if there isn't some disease involved as well. I can't believe that that's purely the drought, simply because she's the only warthog I've seen that looks like that. And that's sad. Thankfully, the piglet seems to be purely on grass at the moment. A nice question there coming from the final control. Could it be because of her age? I don't think it's an age thing, you know, because she's got a young piglet there, and I don't think that an old warthog that looked like that, she certainly wouldn't have been in that condition when she gave birth. If you look at the side of her skin, I wonder if we can't see some kind of disease on there, or if that's just mud. No, it is just mud. She might be old, but sheepers no, I mean, she's lost all of the muscle definition on her body. Everything's gone. She's not lactating anymore, definitely not lactating. So that little piglet will be purely on grass. That looks to me like she's sick. I don't know what she'd have. Is she missing her ear there, Viam? No, she hasn't. She's got it. Isn't that interesting? All right, let's head back across to Scott. Just as we do that, though, I don't think the leopard's going anywhere. I just want you to quickly look at the grey go-away bird. I saw this bird in the same tree a few days ago, Gymnosporia senegalensis, or the red spike thorn. I'm going to go and try and discover which part of the tree the bird is eating. I've never seen any other birds eating it. While I do that, let's go back across to the magnificent Tingana.
Shame, I wonder what's wrong with that warthog. Interesting stuff. Possibly old age, possibly a sickness like James says, and of course the sad thing is that she's got that little piglet that she still needs to raise. So tough times. It's actually surprising we haven't seen too many animals that are really clearly showing the effects of the drought. That's obviously not to say that they aren't. Maybe it's difficult for our human eye to note the differences and hardships that these animals are facing in terms of just looking at their physical condition. But it is going to be a time of plenty for the predators. They certainly will be noticing that the prey is a little bit more slow, not as responsive as they would be if they were full-bellied. This is interesting. One of you has spotted a heart on its belly, and it's just about perfect. That's Joanne in Arizona. Hello, Joanne. Now, I'm going to put my finger into the screen and try and work out, at least attempt to. Oh, here we go. There's my finger. Is that the one, Joanne? I'm guessing that is the one. That's the one that looks like heart to me, although the one to the right over there also looks like quite a good heart. Both of those two there next to one another are decent. I don't know what you guys think is the best, but seeing as though Joanne is the one that has initially seen it, it's either one of those two, I'm guessing. Bing, bing. And aren't we so lucky to be viewing an animal of this beauty in the wild at such close proximity, having a snooze, completely relaxed, as if we are not even here. And for those of you who were with VM and myself when we saw that skittish male leopard who was acting kind of as a regular leopard would. Most leopards in most wilderness areas that you would go to in the wild will behave like that. They'll be incredibly nervous of people, and you'll only get a fleeting glimpse of them. To be honest, he actually wasn't even that nervous. I've seen leopards that are far, far more skittish than he was. He was kind of medium, so nothing too serious. Well, we've got our first visitor. Roy is arriving with his guests, and that's good that we can start sharing this wonderful sighting with him. Good. Roy's just going to sneak past quickly to get into a good spot, so we're going to lose a view intermittently, but that's perfect. He's just trying to get into a position that will allow more vehicles to get into this quite thick area. Hello, Big Dave in Florida. You would like to know what has happened to Karula's cub? There was one confirmed sighting of a tiny little furball, you say, about 3 weeks ago. And my thoughts, Big Dave, is that they are dead. Or it, at least, is dead. There was also rumors that Shadow, Karula's daughter, also had a cub, and that one too, I think, is also dead. When a leopardess has a cub, it's usually quite easy to follow her movements. She goes backwards and forwards into the same area wherever she's denning those cubs. And even though the den site may change, her pathways and movements will always be leading back into one given area, which we have not noticed. And unless it's highly unlikely, I think, that we've been missing all of those tracks. I think the sad but realistic news is that the cubs are dead, and leopards will lose cubs a lot of the time. The majority of cubs that leopards give birth to will not make it to adulthood. It's just like the majority of leopard hunts or lion hunts that they attempt will end up unsuccessful, so will raising the cubs. It could have been that this male leopard killed his own cubs. I'm told he's been confused in the past and killed cubs that he almost certainly had fathered with Shadow. And maybe that's happened again. No one would be able to explain that, of course, except for him. Or it could have been this other male that we got to see the other day at Buffelshoek Waterhole. He's been flying below the radar, and maybe he came across Karula with cubs that he wasn't comfortable that he had fathered. Maybe it was a hyena. Possibly python consumed the cubs. Either way, I think they are gone, sadly. So we have to wait another 3 or 4 months before the next round of cubs begins. Hello, Kitty Bang Bang. You would like to know if there's any results that have come through from an organization called Panthera regarding the leopard scat, the leopard poop that the guys had been collecting, sending through for DNA tests. No, I think it's going to be a while until we get any results from them regarding that. So, yeah, sadly, we just have to sit tight and wait patiently for them to get back to us with some information. It's going to be really interesting, though, if they can work out the kind of paternal lineages of who's who and which father was which and how kind of bloodlines have flowed, which they will be able to. And in an area like the Sabi Sands, where there are so many guides on a daily basis going out, keeping quite close tabs on the leopard of the area, there's going to be some interesting research and information that comes with that. So certainly something to look forward to, but I don't have a clue when it's going to come out. Oh, jeez, how could I have forgotten? Although I was sleeping smoothly today, or soundly, I was very, very rudely awakened by a tree squirrel, and you wouldn't believe it, in the middle of my sleep, fast asleep. I'd probably been asleep for about half an hour or 45 minutes, and I felt this sharp, biting sensation tearing into my calf, and I got the fright of my life. My first thought was rats. Why, I don't know. I thought it was a rat. I just had this feeling, but something was biting into my calf, and it turned out to be a tree squirrel that had jumped onto my bed while I was asleep and latched its little teeth into my calf. It didn't draw blood, but I felt my leg as expecting there to be blood there, and it just jumped off my bed and ran off. Nikki thought it was the funniest thing that's ever happened, so she continued laughing, I think, until beyond when I fell back to sleep again. But can you believe it? A squirrel biting you on the leg. I mean, what was it thinking, taking a bite out of such a ginormous creature or thing, especially considering it's supposed to be a herbivore? Who knows? Anyway, That's what happened today, and that was a first for me. Ambushed by a squirrel, and speaking of the culprits, it sounds like James has just found some for you.
Now, everybody, we don't have a leopard for you, but we've got a rodent. Now, as you know, Scott Dyson was attacked mercilessly today by one of these. They look so cute and sweet that butter wouldn't melt in their mouths, and yet the courage to have taken on a human being the size of Scott Dyson today while he slumbered restfully. Vicious, vicious. I think these are young ones, actually, and I think you'll find that their little nest is just inside there. They don't look like adults. There are 3 of them. One of them went scuttling up the tree. He clearly felt a little bit shy about being on camera. And those 2, I think, are just kind of taking a load off, really. They're probably just coming out, enjoying a bit of warmth before going back inside as the sun goes down. Aren't they sweet? One of them's very tired. You can see the top one. Heavy eyes. Heavy Sunday afternoon eyes. He's thinking of school tomorrow and not feeling very happy about it. We don't have to go to school tomorrow, do we, Viam?
Nope.
Monday will be the same as Sunday.
And Wednesday.
And Wednesday. Okay, so those are the squirrels. And we'll just keep an eye on them. But before we do anything else, this is the tree that the grey go-away bird was eating. And it is Gymnosporia senegalensis, like I say. And what I was seeing was that the bird was just eating the tips off the leaves, just like that. And I looked it up in my book, and it didn't tell me anything about animals wanting to eat it at all. It apparently can be used for all sorts of ailments, including earaches, sore throats, venereal disease, if you happen to have that, and the roots are used as an aphrodisiac, believe it or not. But I've also heard it used as an anesthetic, and there we go. And it does have a very numbing effect on the mouth. And so it's not surprising that it should be used as a general analgesic. Perhaps you've got a sore throat or you have an earache. I'm not sure I'd put it in my ear, but probably quite good for any kind of general aches and pains. And I'm not sure what compound is in it that makes it do that. But I've never seen anything else eat it other than insects and that grey go-away bird. I'm extremely unimpressed by the taste of Gymnosporia senegalensis. Right, let's carry on along this road here and see what else we can find. Bye-bye, little squirrels. Study hard at school tomorrow. We'll see you anon. Now, Debbie, you're on Twitter, and a very valid question. If that warthog has a disease and a predator ate it, could the predator get the disease? It would depend very much on what the disease was. So, I'm trying to think of an obvious example. If it was carrying rabies, for example, and a predator ate it, then yes, the predator could definitely get it. If it was carrying some kind of parasite, though, maybe it's got some kind of intestinal parasite that's taking all its energy, then the predator wouldn't get it. So it really would depend on the disease. The disease, of course, the term disease can refer to all manner of things, to all of the pathogens, the viruses, the fungi, and the bacteria, and all sorts of other things that don't have any necessarily obvious cause. So it really would depend on the disease, Debbie. But what I think you'll find is that with a lot of predators, as with the herbivores, there are lots of things out here that are poisonous for animals to eat, and they don't eat them. Because over hundreds of millions of years of evolution, they've learned what to avoid and what not to avoid. And I think that's half the reason that we taste things the way we do. Things that taste bad to us are normally toxic in some way, and it's the same way, I think, for the herbivores out here, and I imagine very similar for a lot of the carnivores as well. So that's an interesting one, though. I think that did have a disease, yes. Now, Patricia Robinson, you're wondering about the rains that we've had, and will they improve the fact that warthog, will they improve the warthog's condition because there's been a flush of green? Patricia, I don't know. It depends on why she's like that. If she's like that because of the drought, then absolutely it will bring her back. But you see, I haven't seen any other warthogs like that, so I'm not convinced it is the drought that's made her like that. Unless, as Leanne suggested, maybe she's very old, and therefore the drought just took its toll on her before it took on others. In which case, yes, the fresh green sprouts will make a difference. And Leanne, you want to know, not Leanne, Patricia, you also want to know how long warthog piglets stay with their mothers. Well, the young females will probably stay with them almost for life. They'll form a little sounder together. They'll then kind of drift off probably when they have their first litter at the age of probably 18 months to 2.5 years. The males would be sexually mature probably at about 2.5 years, and then they will probably slowly drift off again, firstly in a little group of males, and then they'll probably become slightly more solitary as they look for mating opportunities. Now we're on Leadwood Road heading for the eastern sector, and we'll from there head north to where Viam found the Djuma the leopard last night. I would be extremely excited to see Djuma the leopard. That said, I'd be extremely excited to see any form of predatory animal right now. Not a lot going on Leadwood Road at the moment. In the meantime, I'm not sure if Scott's still with his leopard or if he's not with his leopard anymore. But let's go across to him, get an update on his plans, and I'll catch up with you hopefully with some good news just now.
Okay, everyone, we've just brought you back for a quick goodbye. Hopefully not for the whole of the sunset safari. I'm hoping we are going to get to see him again, and I'm confident we will. But let's say goodbye for now and make space for the other two vehicles who are just around the corner. And there's some good news. We are not leaving here without a plan. There's another big dominant male leopard called the Anderson male. He's a brute. He's bigger than Tingana. And they found some of his tracks on the western boundary. Goodbye, everyone. On the western boundary of Arathusa. So that's the plan. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Hello, Ryan. Good. Good. Guys, I know you're all very excited to see Ryan. It's not often you get to see him. So there we go.
How's it going, guys? Where are you off to from here, Scotty?
We're going to go and find the Anderson male.
Okay. There's Nyare and Olamiti just done here.
Thank you very much. Good to see you. I'll get in touch soon. Cheers, guys. Have fun. Sounds good. You see, it's always good fun when we can pin down Ryan like that, get the camera right into his face, because he very often bullies me and tells his guests when we're not live that I used to be part of a South African boy band called the Front Street Boys. That's one of the lines he likes to use. He often terrorizes me and then goes and hides behind a bush. Hello, Christy. In Indiana, you would like to know if Shadow has in fact lost her cubs. That is what you've heard. I think it's possible that she has. And secondly, you'd like to know if it is because she has been mating with her father. She hasn't been mating with her father. Tingana is the male she's been mating with, along with a few others, but I believe her father is dead. I can't remember the name of him, but her father is actually also the father of Shadow, her mother. Bizarre. So Shadow and her are both mother and daughter, as well as kind of half-sister through the same father. So no, I don't think anyone knows why exactly Shadow has been unfortunate to lose her most recent litter. So that's that. Now, I know I've just told you guys that we all think Karula has lost her cubs. And I've just got some information that says that we are wrong. Again, I am going to stress, unless we see something for ourselves, it is best not to believe it. But if you would like to, you are welcome to. I'm just going to furnish you with some information that I've just got from Roy. He apparently saw Karula 4 days ago. He is under the impression that she did have suckle marks and that she is still, in fact, looking after cubs. So there is hope. And I guess that is the beauty of being on a live safari. You simply do not know what is going to happen and or when it is going to happen. And the professionals who drive you around can often be wrong. I just thought I saw possibly one of Tingana's tracks here, the leopard we've just seen, but it wasn't. So I was hoping we were going to be able to show you a paw prints. Good, we're going to send you back to James who's found some birds.
I laugh, everybody, because VM, of course, was in full song by the time that link came along. There we have a magpie shrike. And, well, they're very common around here, of course, but on this peaceful Sunday afternoon, they just seem to be sitting just like those squirrels were, sort of overlooking the place and enjoying the peace of this balmy afternoon. There's also a young one, I think. Oh, no, it seems to be attacking something now. Hang on. Two of them there with the hornbill. The reason I say they're young is that their tails are not quite as long as those of adults. And there's also, there's that hornbill there. Let's just have a look at him. I think there must be some termites on the ground here, coming out of the ground, and that's why they're all around here. That hornbill is also a juvenile, very short beak, just like the young magpie shrikes, and I'm sure they're just having a bit of a fight. Oh, look at that. Now, that's not just a dust bath. Oh, sorry, let's go straight across to Scott. He's got some buffalo.
Well, we've got a big Cape Buffalo bull here who's just come down to the waterhole, and he is making the most of it. Look at this. Yeehaw! The breakdance rodeo is what I like to call that. And it is the one time that these big, cantankerous, short-fused old boys can look quite playful. And they really do love submerging themselves in this thick, cool mud. It will, you can see how he's rubbed his horns in it. That was the first thing he did on arrival. And it's creating, obviously, initially a soothing effect, but now it's going to be coating those horns in this thick clay-like mud, which will prevent any parasites that feed on their horn, called the horned borer moth. Oh, is that a yawn? Oh, tiring business. Oh, yeah. A yawn slash burp, it appears. And this is a great way for them to keep parasites off them, like I say. And he's probably going to now try and submerge the other half of his body in this mud. He's only done his right side, so let's see if he doesn't try and get the left side catered for. Mike Sandmeyer, you are interested to know if the animals carry any diseases that remain dormant until drought conditions kick in. Not that I'm aware of. I do know, though, that during droughts there is a far larger risk of anthrax being kind of, you could say, rekindled out of dried up mud wallows. How exactly that works, I'm not too sure. I've never been in a drought before, but there's no diseases that I know of that will be... Oh, look at this! That was incredible. That took me by a huge surprise. I've never, ever seen a Cape Buffalo behave like that before. That is a first, and I've spent many an hour watching these boys roll around in the mud. But he is really going for it. Can you believe it? The bucking bronco over here. I love the way you can see the white in his eye when he really extends his neck as far as he can.
Maybe I should hang back then. Sorry about that. Saying it's tight for 3 movers. Maybe I should hang back a little bit.
Pete in the UK, also on the topic of diseases, you're wondering if that little piggy is suffering from anthrax. I do not have a clue. I don't think even a vet would have a clue just looking at it. It could be one of a number of problems, and unless you were to do some proper tests on it, I don't think anyone would be able to tell you the answer to that. But again, I'm no professional when it comes to diseased animals. The only one I have seen is a domestic dog, which had rabies. That is the only one and only time I've seen an animal with a disease or virus. Deborah, the armchair traveler, you are right. It's hilarious how humans will pay hundreds of dollars for this kind of treatment in health spas around the world, getting mud applied onto their faces, whereas the Cape Buffalo get it free of charge here in the Sabi Sands. It's a perk of living, it feels like. That was a couple of months back. Now we've got some good news. From time to time, when an awesome sighting or event occurs, we will play back a slow motion video. And this Buffalo Bill, I think, has got the first buffalo slow motion video ever to be shown to you. Enjoy. I'm sure that was awesome to watch. I'm jealous that I didn't get to see it. I don't get that feed coming through to my vehicle, but I hope you enjoyed the slow motion bucking bronco, seeing mud flying in all directions. We're probably going to move on, and it's funny how it happens when it rains, it pours, and as much as I've been loving the sighting, I don't think it's going to get much better than what we've seen. And there are monkeys alarm calling in the general area where the other vehicles are following up on some other male leopard tracks. It is of a male leopard that we've so seldomly seen. If we can see both him and Tingana in one day, it will be a small miracle. So let's go and try. It's a gamble, but I think it's worth it. And cats in Tampa, you're right, what an awesome buffalo sighting. It's seldom that you get to see them in this playful kind of mood. So thank you for that. Even seeing those yawns of his, those yawny burps, that was something else as well. Okay. Looks like he's got a friend coming to join him at the mud wallow. We'll leave them to it and venture forth in the hopes of finding another huge male leopard. Joel, you are interested to know whether on top of helping to contain parasite loads on their body, will mud wallowing also be used to help disguise their scent from animals like lion that will be trying to hunt them? And no, I don't think it will. I think it's purely the parasites that it's going to help keep at bay, not the lions. The same goes to say for the lions. If lions were to roll around in buffalo dung, it's only going to create a cocktail of smells. It's not going to purely remove the scent of lion. And I think the animals' senses are just so much better than ours that that they can distinguish between two different smells that may be intermixed, you could say. Jennifer in San Francisco, you are concerned about the vicious squirrel attack that I encountered whilst having my siesta today. And thank you for your concern. Like I say, it didn't draw blood. Had it have drawn blood, there would have been a very small, minute portion of me that would be concerned for a disease like rabies. But I think I am up to date with rabies inoculations. So I think I'm in the clear there, but worth double checking. But the fact that it didn't draw blood makes me confident that there's no serious issues. Had it have drawn blood, it would have been a different story. Angie in Wisconsin, yes, you are right. It's fascinating how awesome it is for us to actually see animals having fun and enjoying the effects of the rain. First, it was the hyena with Sam running around wildly, enjoying that mudwallow at Treehouse Dam. And now the Cape buffalo we've got to see. It's a pity there aren't too many elephants around at the moment, because they too will definitely be making the most of these muddy conditions. I'm driving a little bit faster than normal, and that is to try and get into this general area where basically one vehicle found some leopard tracks of another big male heading north, and then another vehicle who was heading into that area to help lend a hand started hearing some monkeys alarm calling in the direction of where those tracks were heading. So all the pieces of the puzzle are indicating that there is a chance that this other big male called Anderson is nearby. And I've been spending a lot of time recently patrolling this western boundary of Arathusa, which is the one place where he does come onto. It's the one area of our traverse where he does move. The majority of his property is further south and west away from us. So we only get very small windows of opportunity to catch him, and it sounds like this is one of them. Oh, this Cape buffalo that we've just bumped into, I'm hoping we're going to get a view of it. I just want to try and pick the best spots. He's now stopped directly behind the bush. Let's just creep forward. He's got some decorations that he's wearing, and it's funny how such a brute of a beast can decide to wear jewelry. Let's stop here. He's about to move through this little gap, and then we'll get to see his fancy outfit. Come on, boy, you've got all dressed up. Unveil yourself. Oh yeah, come on. There it is. Oh no, he's a little bit shy and embarrassed. There we go. You can see he's got some kind of an earring or a wig under his left ear. Let's see if we can't. Oh, there we go. Very fancy.
Start making your way.
It's a kind of a less is more outfit, I guess. Not too much to see there, but nice to see he's getting dressed up. Maybe he knows he's about to have a meeting with the Nkuhuma ladies. You are not too far away. They're basically north of where we are now on Sibambili, the property where we cannot traverse, but there's a chance that they're going to come back a little bit further south and or east onto Djuma tonight. Okay, so we are approaching the area of where I'm going to need to be extremely focused. All my senses, mainly my ears and my eyes though, trying to hear alarm calls or any kind of sounds that will lead us closer to the leopard that is lurking through this general area. And while we do that, we are going to send you across to James and VM to see what they are getting up to.
Well, that's very hopeful of Scott. If he finds the Tingana male and the Anderson male, well, that will be quite a drive. We have found, VM, what have we found since we last were on air?
Franklin.
A Franklin, well done. We found a Cape, not a Cape, a Natal Franklin. It was calling, singing very beautifully. It stopped, of course, before you came across and went away. We've checked Buffelshoek Dam. There isn't anything there except quite a lot of mud. So now we're hoping to find that leopard that Liam spotted yesterday on this very road. Was it not, Liam?
No.
No. Not Buffelshoek East?
No, it's a bank station.
Ah, okay. Scott said it was a geese, so I'm going to assume it was this one. Anyway, a very balmy afternoon, like I said, but there does seem to be quite a lot of grey cloud blowing in from the southeast. It's about 26 degrees, so still very pleasant. That in Fahrenheit is roughly 78, if I'm not mistaken. And like I say, I do just wish that humanity would get it together enough to be able to use only one kind of system. Hello, Gracie. Aged just 8, you have finally come home and received Safari James, made by Viam and I. Well done, Viam. He made his way all the way from Buffelshoek Dam to Ohio, where he is now watching Safari, wondering how it is that he's come to be so far away from the place of his birth. Gracie, I'm very pleased that he's with you, and I apologize once again for the state of his limbs. I believe that his arms were not quite attached when he arrived. It was a long trip for him, Gracie, and I'm sure your mum will help him to fix it. And you also say you enjoyed our song very much, but that you want to know why on earth Viam thinks that cheese comes from bees when everyone knows that it comes from cows, and of course the bees like to drink nectar and sweat, I think you said. Well, they do sometimes like sweat, but that's normally a sweat bee. I don't know, Gracie. Viam obviously went to a strange school, I think.
Lactose bees.
Lactose bees. Anyway, there's some dwarf mongoose up ahead. Let's see if we can get them. I'm very pleased that you have got Safari James now, Gracie. There was some dwarf mingoose that went running through here. Obviously, it's extremely thick, and so they were running away from me. Anyway.
Yeah, it comes from either from just one east, and you will see the photo coming to the south, where the
Hello, Brian in Toronto. You say you're coming to the Sabi Sands in May or June, and where do you need to stay in order to meet the crew of Safari Live? Arathusa or Djuma? Well, Brian, I suspect, first of all, if you haven't booked yet, you'd better get on it very quickly, because I know that these lodges get booked out very quickly. And the second thing to say is Arathusa, if you're coming with a couple, if it's just you and a friend or you and a partner or whatever it is, then that's the best, because Djuma, you have to book out the whole camp. And if there are 10 of you, then it's the best value bed in the Sabi Sands. But unless there are 10 of you, you have to take out the whole camp. So it's just a little bit more difficult. So Arathusa, yes, probably a good idea to book there. Good, Brian. We look forward to meeting you. Here's an interesting question. Now, Dee and Richard, in the United Kingdom, you say, looking at that warthog, do animals get cancer in the same way that people do? And the answer, Dee, is probably not nearly as much. And there are a number of reasons for that. Of course, we know that there are genetic reasons why people get cancer. But because of medical care, obviously those genes will survive within the population. That is not the case in animals, of course. Then, secondly, animals live in the environment in which they evolved to live. So the triggers that set off cancers in human beings, I strongly believe, are brought about by the environment that we were not evolved to live in. We didn't evolve to live in cities with the pollutants that we have, with the foods that we eat, it's almost impossible to go to the shops and buy a food that is actually just a food without there being stuffed full of some kind of chemical or a GMO product or something or other. It's almost impossible. You don't even know half the time what you're eating. I certainly am often shocked when I look at the packages of stuff that we eat. The animals out here, it's not the same for them. They are eating exactly what they evolved to eat. The warthogs are eating grass, the buffalo are eating grass, the leopards are eating warthogs, and the lions are eating buffalo. And that's what they evolved to do. Now, you might find that they contain in their genetic makeup those triggers in the same way that human beings do, but because they're not exposed to the same level of toxins that we are, it never expresses. So I suspect you'll find that it's nothing like as bad as it is in human beings. I've no doubt that that uncontrolled cell growth that is cancer does occur in the animal kingdom. I suspect, though, it will be far, far, far less frequent than it is in the human being. Very nice question. Thank you, Dee and Richard. It's a really nice topic to discuss. And Angie in Wisconsin, I think this is a subject that deserves a lot further study, and I don't think many people have studied it at all. You say, is there a plant perhaps that hog could eat to get rid of parasites? I think that you would find, if we studied it carefully, that animals do self-medicate. I'm pretty sure that they know to within reason what plants would help them with certain parasites. I see no reason why they shouldn't do that, and I've used this example before. I've seen an elephant take combretum leaves and stuff them, very specifically taking specific combretum leaves and putting them into a hole from where the tusk had fallen. So I don't see why there shouldn't be any reason why animals wouldn't select specific foods to try and get rid of parasites. And I've definitely seen, I mean, if you watch an elephant feeding, an elephant is extremely selective about what it eats, and I can't believe it's only doing that for taste. I'm sure it must know I mean, and I say no, I mean physiologically must be aware as to what nutrients it needs, and therefore it will select certain species based on the nutrients that it needs. Very nice question, thank you. Whether that hog or not will be able to survive the parasites that are within it, who knows? Very interesting indeed. And like I say, I think the whole subject of whether or not animals are able to self-medicate themselves is a really good one, really fascinating one. Elephant. Tail this elephant here. This is an elephant going north into Buffelshoek, everyone. Let's see if it is a herd. Now, Vernie Moyo, while we do that, you want to know we get bushbuck here at bush pig. You say they're very beautiful. They are beautiful indeed. We don't get them here. Well, we do get them here in theory, but I've never actually seen one here. Close relative of the warthog, the only other pig that we get. Where's this elephant? You see him? Ah, there he is. He's got no tail here. And he's on his own and trying to get away from me again. Stop, elephant. We'll just stop there. Anyway, just to prove that there are one or two mammals here that I can see as well. It's very odd with the tail there, and I suspect that is a result of a tick infestation. Ticks probably managed to get in under the skin, and in so doing they kind of ate away the flesh, and eventually the tail would have just fallen off. It is quite unusual though. Anyway, that's a young bull. He's heading north of the boundary into Buffelshoek, so we can't follow him. We're going to go down here, which is Hyena Road, and Hyena Road is, well, it's a good stomping ground for a number of leopards, including hopefully our new friend Djuma and perhaps some Vula. Just quickly, that elephant is now breaking something. He's picked himself a giant branch of combretum to eat. That's the red bush willow, and that's normally the mainstay of the winter diet. But because there's so little grass, of course, it is now the mainstay of the late summer diet too. I hope the elephants will be able to graze a little bit in the wake of the rain that we've had. I think that you'll find that they need that balanced diet of grazing in the summer and browsing in the winter, because the grasses, of course, contain a completely different suite of nutrients to the trees. So they will be affected. And I think the elephants, to be honest, are looking quite skinny. They all just look slightly less round than they normally do. They look to me like the desert elephants. If you ever go to Namibia and you see the elephants that live in the desert there, same elephant, but they've just adapted to living in desert climates, and they all look a lot leaner than the ones that we have here, which are normally quite round and tubby. I'm not sure I'd describe an elephant as tubby to its face. Would you, Vian? No.
I don't think they would understand it.
No, you probably wouldn't understand it, would you? Now, Vernie Moyo, I'm not sure if you heard me answer your question, but I did say just before we saw the elephant that the bush pig is found here, but that we don't see it very often. I've never seen one here, actually. Now, there's a duiker. One should try and get excited about seeing a duiker every so often. Let's just sneak past this Gymnosporia buxifolia bush, and he's run away, diving into the bush. Ooh. You can see exactly there why he's called a duiker, because he loves a lot of diving. Now, Matthew Putman, a very nice question from you about the dangers of being on safari. Matthew, this is a question that we get asked quite a lot in various guises. For instance, this morning we had a lot of questions about giant cockroaches and giant millipedes. In honesty, Matthew, if you know what you're doing as a guide, it's not a dangerous job to do. There will be many who will tell you otherwise. They will normally have their shirts rolled up to like sort of that length. They'll have their shorts wrapped up to sort of just below underpants level, and they'll normally carry an enormous knife on their belts just to demonstrate how dangerous it is to be out here. It is not particularly dangerous if you know what's going on, and certainly coming on safari is not a dangerous activity at all. If you have a guide that knows what he's doing, and most of the guides out here now, there's a pretty good standard. So it's not dangerous to come on safari. It's a real adventure, though. It really is. To be in an environment like this that will make you feel uncomfortable because it is so unfamiliar. There are elephants all over the place, well, normally. And there are buffalo all over the place. There are lions, there are leopards, there are rhino, there are all sorts of animals that are very unfamiliar to you. And so it does feel a little bit dangerous when you get here and you're unfamiliar with it. But it's actually, if you settle down and relax and just get into it, it is the most wonderful feeling that the wilderness like this will give to you. You'll feel a tremendous sense of connection with the earth. And to me, rather than the kind of suggested danger, if you like, for me, the connection with wilderness, with animals like this, and with a landscape like this, is the real essence of coming on a safari. So, not dangerous at all, if you know what you're doing. And of course, is that just a tree? What is that, Liam? That's just a tree that's been pushed over. It's the underside.
Yeah, I took the underside.
Gee whiz, that's the under... Do you know what that is, everyone? That is brilliant parking on my part is what that is. And for goodness sakes. Right. That's as good as it gets. That is a knobthorn tree, I think, that's been pushed over by an elephant. And it's got itself into the kind of thick rocky layer that leads down into the drainage line here. And that has come right up and out of the ground. It's very brittle, especially when it's dry, and it's come out of the ground and left this sort of white tower there. Very unusual. It was pushed over by an elephant, and we were talking about elephants. And a question about what the average size of elephant herds are from someone called Great Grandtelope. A marvelous name, Great Grandtelope. And you want to know the average size of a herd of elephants in the Kruger? It's normally sort of between 8 and 15 individuals. Normally not much bigger than that, but in the sort of height of the dry season, you will find much larger agglomerations at water. And quite often, we get sort of 20 or 30 at the water hole at the Djuma Dam pan, and then they all kind of greet and they finish, and they all come from different directions, and then they walk off in different directions. So you might see a big herd of 30, but it's more than likely that the actual makeup of that herd is probably only about 8 to 15. Wimpy, there's a little marsh terrapin in there, a little baby one, a junior, very happy to have some water to be born into. There he is. Now, what I would really like is for that marsh terrapin to stick his head out of the water, because in order to truly identify whether he is a marsh terrapin or a serrated hinged terrapin, we need to see whether he has got tentacles hanging from his lip. It does give them a rather otherworldly and unattractive look. And you combine that with the incredible stench that they're able to produce if you catch them. They're not the most popular animals out here. Anyway, that is the marsh terrapin, and they live normally in puddles as opposed to permanent water like the ones that we see at the Djuma Dam pan, which are serrated hinged terrapins. And he will lie in wait there. And, well, he's a very little one, so he's going to eat largely insects and invertebrates. But when he gets a bit bigger, he will be